All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter the myth that passive consumption somehow equals learning, and we're uncovering the biological secrets to mastering literally any skill. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're studying or practicing for hours but retaining absolutely nothing, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to break down the exact architecture of mastery, and specifically, look at how retrieval practice fundamentally rewires your brain to lock in that memory.
So let's just dive right into a really fascinating riddle from the source material. Imagine two people. Person A spends a massive 300 hours watching coding tutorials online. Person B, they only watch 50 hours. But when they both apply for the exact same job, person B gets hired right away. Now, how in the world does the person who studied 6 times less end up getting the offer?
Well, the answer comes down to what their brains were actually doing during those hours. Person A's brain was just exposed to the information. They learned to simply recognize it when it popped up on a screen. Meanwhile, person B put in the effortful recall required to actually retrieve that information from their own mind. And this is crucial. The fundamental truth of our biology is that your brain does not reward mere exposure. It rewards effortful recall. Honestly, that single misunderstanding about how memory works wastes years of people's lives.
So here is exactly how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll cover the illusion of competence. Then, the science of struggle. Next, we'll look at optimizing practice. And finally, we'll wrap up with the rapid learning framework.
All right, Section 1, the illusion of competence, or really, why standard studying just completely fails us.
You know, the absolute biggest enemy of learning is actually feeling like you're learning. Think about it. Have you ever spent hours highlighting a textbook until the entire page is just this blinding neon yellow, and you feel incredibly productive? Well, the source material reveals that these super popular study habits are actually massive wastes of time. They feel highly productive for one reason only. The information is just starting to look familiar to you.
These passive activities are essentially tricking you using something psychologists call recognition. And recognition is just your brain spotting a familiar pattern. It's that warm, comforting feeling of looking at a highlighted sentence and thinking, ah yes, I've seen this before, I know this. But actually, being able to say you've seen it before definitely doesn't mean you know it.
Because real skill, like true mastery, depends entirely on recall. And recall is a completely different brain process where you can confidently say, I can produce this entirely without help. Like when you close the book or you turn off the screen, can you generate the answer completely on your own? Retrieval practice is vastly more effective for long-term memory retention than any kind of passive review.
So the real takeaway here is that knowledge is not stored by watching, it is stored by doing the actual physical and mental work. I mean, watching 100 cooking videos on YouTube will never, ever equal cooking 10 meals yourself. Watching people play the guitar doesn't build the calluses on your fingers, and watching fitness influencers at the gym definitely doesn't build your muscles. We absolutely have to make that leap from passive consumption to active retrieval.
Let's move on to Section 2, the science of struggle, and look at why our brains actually kind of love difficulty.
As humans, we naturally hate to struggle, right? We avoid it. But biologically speaking, our brains absolutely crave it. Scientists call this phenomenon desirable difficulties. And what this means is that methods like self-testing or trying to solve a problem before you're even shown the answer, yeah, they might feel incredibly frustrating right now, but they dramatically improve your long-term memory transfer. The golden rule you need to remember is this: easy learning feels good, but hard learning lasts.
And this all happens because of neuroplasticity. See, your brain isn't just some static object. It is constantly changing physically. Every single time you force a retrieval or correct a mistake or solve a really difficult problem, your neurons are physically strengthening their connections. You are literally rewiring your brain based on repeated experience. So it's really not about raw intelligence or having endless motivation. It is the physical act of practice that actually changes the brain.
Psychologist Anders Ericsson researched this heavily, and he found something super interesting. Experts don't just practice more hours than the rest of us, they practice differently. See, average practice is all about comfort. It's just smoothly going through the motions of what you already know how to do. Deliberate practice, on the other hand, equals growth. It means setting a highly specific goal, seeking immediate feedback, relentlessly attacking your weak points, and maintaining maximum concentration. They completely abandon comfort for highly concentrated growth.
Which brings us to Section 3, optimizing practice. Let's dig into the specific techniques for mastering memory.
Most of us do absolutely everything in our power to avoid mistakes. But experts, they literally chase them.
Why? Because of error-based learning. Every single error tells your brain, hey, this prediction was wrong, which gives it the biological reason it needs to update itself and improve. Without mistakes, the brain has absolutely zero incentive to change. This is exactly why chess grandmasters don't sit around replaying their wins, they meticulously study their losses. It's why Olympic athletes review their mistakes frame by agonizing frame.
Another incredible technique in the toolkit is spaced repetition. Look, most students cram the night before an exam. I mean, we've all been there. But the brain absolutely hates cramming. Instead, you need to study, then let yourself forget a little bit, and then review. Then forget again and review again. This spacing out is so powerful because every time you struggle to retrieve that information, you're successfully reconstructing the memory trace, which makes it vastly more durable than if you just read it over and over in one sitting.
To take this even further, there's a concept called interleaving. Usually, we practice one thing for hours straight, like math. That's called block practice. But mixed practice forces your brain to work so much harder. By mixing different skills, like say jumping from math to writing to coding to physics and back to math, you're forcing your brain to constantly evaluate and choose the correct strategy, rather than just coasting on autopilot. And this dramatically improves long-term transfer. Now, to avoid hitting a plateau, fast learners constantly tighten their feedback loop. Learning definitely requires information, sure, but building a skill requires correction. If you don't get feedback, your brain is just going to happily repeat its errors forever. Experts shrink the time between taking an action, getting feedback on it, making a correction, and repeating the process. You should always be asking yourself, okay, what did I do wrong here, and how do I fix it?
Oh, and please don't forget that learning doesn't just magically stop the moment you finish practicing. A lot of people think it does, but that's entirely wrong. During sleep, your brain is actually actively strengthening those new neural pathways and consolidating the memories you built during the day. So missing sleep literally means you are actively losing learning efficiency. The absolute crucial takeaway here is this: practice creates memories, but sleep protects them.
All right, Section 4. Let's pull this all together into the rapid learning framework. This is your blueprint for mastery.
Okay, here's the first half of the framework. Step 1, obviously, learn the basics. But step 2, and this is where almost everyone fails, you must immediately apply them. Do not wait until you feel ready. Step 3 is to retrieve that information entirely from memory. Close the book, shut the laptop, and force yourself to explain it or build it. And step 4 is to actively find your mistakes. You have to hunt for those errors. Moving right into the second half. Step 5 is to actually correct the mistakes you just found. Step 6 brings in that spaced repetition, so you repeat the retrieval practice after 1 day. Step 7, you repeat it again after 1 week. And finally, step 8, which is absolutely vital, increase the difficulty. This is a lifelong process, guys. People stop improving because they stop challenging themselves. Once a task becomes easy, that comfort creates automation, and your brain just stops adapting. You have to continuously up the stakes.
The human brain is just remarkably adaptable. And honestly, innate talent is completely overrated. What really separates beginners from experts isn't some biological genius, it's exactly how they practice. Every difficult recall, every single corrected mistake, and every uncomfortable repetition is literally just another brick in the architecture of mastery. So it's time to stop merely consuming knowledge and start actively training your brain, because skills aren't just found lying around waiting for you, they are built. The only question left to ask yourself is this: are you going to keep passively consuming knowledge, or are you finally ready to build it?